this is the first episode of Just Design Things, and this is the one with the typography. No, that was not what I was supposed to say, but okay, we'll continue. Okay, so we are the design team of IEEE student branch of UCSC, and I'm Deshan, and this is the lovely team of. This is the lovely team. Okay. First off, this is Ravinder. Okay, should I say hi? Anjali, Nisara, and Benedict. Okay. So, okay, team, what do we have planned first?
So I guess this is about typography. So I was thinking maybe we could check out a few design fails that we, failed design that we did as kids. So
My design.
back when we didn't know. Yeah, specifically.
Yeah, basically mine. Yeah, specifically mine.
Mine are too cringe, and Nisura's ones were always good, and Anjali's muted, and yeah. So yeah, we're gonna go with your ones. Let's see what you have for us today.
Let's start.
Okay, so first of all, we have this thing, workstation.lk. Cool. So Nisura, you want to say anything about this one?
The first thing that stands out to me is the typeface. He has used the same typeface throughout the design, and the tracking, so which is basically letter spacing. The tracking is a bit too tight. I feel like the email and website, it gets tough to read. That's what stands out to me. What about y'all?
Well, I would add that everything's in caps. I mean, I think it's part of the typeface, as in it's an all caps typeface, right? Lemon milk.
Yeah. So lemon milk is like, okay, I used to love lemon milk back then. So
yeah, it's pretty good.
That's
lemon
why I used it.
Not a body font, right? It's mainly for headlines.
Yeah.
Headline
but like it looks nice, but doesn't even have simple letters. That's main issue. That was the main issue.
I assume it doesn't have different fonts as well, yeah? I mean, it's just regular, but you don't have italic.
Yeah. So also the alignment, as in, I would just say this part is like somewhere over here, and then this is centered, again over here, and then somewhere in the middle of the page. Also, the fact that there's no hierarchy. I mean, we get that this is the title, and there's features, the title of features, and also everything else in the same level.
Yeah.
How do you suggest we could create a hierarchical division here?
First of all, I would say using a different typeface, right? For the body text, and also this one. Preferably simple letters, as in, that's how Instagram that's how it's supposed to be. And I would move this somewhere over here or towards an edge and make it smaller, because it's not the priority here.
Yeah, it's grabbing too much attention.
Yeah, true.
It is. What do you like about this post?
That's what I was going to say. I like the gradient and the cool zigzag thing he has going on there.
Yeah, it kind of matches this zigzag as well. So yeah, looks cool.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, nobody saw that. Right. So
even if we were using the same typeface, we could change the fonts of it, the weights of it to create a hierarchical difference. And for those of you who doesn't know what the difference between
typeface and font.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have right here for y'all. So typeface is when you have different families of font, as in they look different from each other, as in shapes and sizes and stuff. like say Roboto and Gautam, Times New Roman, and then we have impacts.
Comic Sans.
We don't talk about that here.
Yeah, no.
I just like the reaction he gets out of you.
Going for the clever text. Anyways, font is when you have one typeface in different weights and different styles, like italic, condensed, regular, bold, black, something like that. To understand, this is the font. Oh wait, these are the fonts in
The
even the typeface, right?
Of the remaining typeface.
Yeah, what we could do is we could have. I think Deshan has used regular everywhere, so we could have a mixture of medium and light. For if you're gonna stick to that, but we're not. Instead, I'll be walking you all through the whole process of editing this thing. Let's go. All right, let's get started. So to edit this, this is a list of things we're gonna change, right? The whole body text and this text and the alignment of these things. That's about it for now. Right, let's get right into it. With this body text, I'm gonna go with something very that has lowercase letters, and probably something like, actually yeah, avatar demo sounds good. Just I will test it out. Right, so I'm actually happy with how this turned out in the first try. I usually don't get it in the first go, but yeah, I like this body font because it's very simple, calming, and has a professional look to it that should be given on this post. So yeah, and then I'm just gonna. That's weird. Right, I see what's happened here. It wasn't really aligned. Okay, now for this. I think I'm gonna use the same font. In my opinion, like to my eyes, this looks so much better already. But there are some more things we can change. But I'm gonna get this aligned with this S instead. This whole thing, yes. Because I have an idea for these two, and I'm gonna be taking this right here. I'm gonna bring this down to 14 because it's a social media post and you don't need these big letters like the same size as this. Anyways, I gotta show that it's not that worth it. I mean, nobody's gonna click on these. Nobody's actually gonna even like bother clicking or looking at these or reading these because I don't think anybody wants to keep emails in mind. Right, it's those two, and why doesn't this one get a shadow? Logo line, that's why. I've done basically everything I said I would change in it. So we got some new font over here. We kept this, but we moved it a bit down to fill up the space, and we moved this part over, right? The stuff that was here over here, and added it somewhere in a separate box to match this part. I guess that works, right? I of course left this part B because I thought it looks
better.
Looks better.
Much better.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it's okay.
Do you want to try increasing the blind spacing?
This line spacing?
Yeah, between the bullet points. Leading, yeah.
That would actually work, yeah. The leading.
Yeah, definition right there. Leading is the space between lines.
What did I do?
Oh God.
Yeah, that happened.
Okay. This is leading. Okay, so you could anyone want to explain what leading is?
Of course. Leading is a space between two lines of text. So from here to here, this is leading. And yeah, it's basically a way of separating elements and, confirming the hierarchy, like what's important and what's not, and separating groups, like this part is together, this part is together.
Yeah,
grouping things. Yeah.
How the word leading originated was when they used hand typesetters, they've inserted lead strips in between the letters so that they can create an even space in between the rows. So that's how the word leading has been originated.
Right. Cool. All this time I called it leading.
I used to say line spacing.
That's
everybody says line spacing.
It's something.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Trust me, this had never milk in it as well. I just did. The other two didn't like it.
What's this?
Call.
That's not.
Is that level?
That's something else.
Looks like it's close. The A's are different. The A's and C's. So yeah.
Okay,
what I would say.
It might be the middle of.
What I would say. This again. What I would say is there's no hierarchy at all. As in, for call, this and the address and everything is the same, except for the call part is like bolded. Everything else is like the same sort of. And I don't know why, but the body text is red and the headings are gray. Usually it's the other way around, because red. Either red is supposed to be the more prominent color in terms of hierarchy. And again, the text is screaming at me. It's all in caps and it's all crammed in.
True.
Right?
To be honest, I don't know where to start reading it from. Like everything looks equally important where it shouldn't be.
True.
Yeah, that's what.
And there's like something gone wrong with the fonts for more information, and come visit us. Like the call, the number is like totally different. You couldn't see that font anywhere in this post.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I feel like you've done some stretching here. Is that it?
No, the font is different. It's the font is different. That's the issue. That's why it feels like that. Yeah, for some reason I put a different font in it. I don't know why.
Right. And what happened here?
Typeface. Sorry.
What happened here? Yeah.
What's wrong with the picture?
Nope. The
spacing.
Right. So they were an auto detailing company, so I thought they should have a little bit style to it. So I left one of the best pictures in it.
I guess overall it's more to do with the placement of elements, the hierarchy, and the choice of pictures. Yeah, maybe you were given those, but you could arrange them in a better way. Yeah, that's about it for this one on my end. Anyone else want to add?
Anyone want to comment on the weirdly placed circles, white circles?
I thought you did that because the light circle, and then you wanted to kind of emulate that the light bulb for the car, the front lights. That's also circular.
But I feel like I could have changed the colors of the circle. At the time, I think I used white because the two cars on the top were white. But looking
gray or red.
Yeah, I feel like I could have gone for gray since it had a lot of gray in it.
Yeah, so this is about typography, so let's keep that aside. Right.
Yeah.
So first of all, what I would do is I would, just like the other one, I would replace this body text with body text. Right? Increases line spacing a bit, make it, track it a little bit more because it's all condensed. And personally, I don't like condensed text in body text because condensed means like everything is together.
Condensed.
And condensed font, yes. So it's really, I don't know. For me, it's a strain to the eye to read condensed font in body text. So what I would do is that, and maybe line this up better. Maybe justify, as in like resize the lettering a bit, and get this into a title sort of thing.
You could do that.
Yeah. And the rest is the placement and alignment. And maybe have these a bit smaller because, again, not the most prominent thing.
Yeah, and yeah, true.
Right.
Sure, that's true.
I'm talking about hierarchy and the size of the typeface of the font. Here, one method that designers often use is the golden ratio, which is this particular number that when you multiply by it, it's 1.618. And when you multiply the font size by that number, you get, so if you multiply it by 1.68, it becomes bigger, and that generally is suitable as a heading for the previous text that you multiplied it by. So if you had a heading and a body, you'd multiply the body text by 1.68, and then you'd have a font size that would be suitable for a heading for that piece, yeah.
Right. So I think we should be better, showed in application, right? Like how it works.
Yeah.
You wanna do your thing?
So, just as Anjali mentioned, what designers do when scaling stuff is without randomly increasing the size and the line spacing between these two, they incorporate the golden ratio. The value is 1.618. So here I have the font size at 16 and the line spacing, the line height at 16 as well. If I'm satisfied with the font size, what I can do is I can change the line height, and for that I can multiply this value by 1.618, and then you can get an okay line height. So I'll do it for the others as well. Likewise, you can mess around with the line height and also with the line font size. For that also, what we can simply do is multiply it by 1.618. So that's how we apply the golden ratio in scaling in typography.
Suddenly looks completely right.
Basically, what we should do in those flyers and posters we make, we just have to be conscious about the importance of the elements that we use, as in like headings should be headings and body text should be body text, and contact information and stuff like the near irrelevant stuff should be smaller and not that prominent, not bolded.
What typographic hierarchy does is, since we're used to having hierarchy in posters, it shows the user where we can find specific information if we use it correctly.
Yeah.
And when to read what to read first.
Use your eye to the right place.
Yep.
Like my professional detailing services poster had nothing of hierarchy. So like you should have said that you can't where you don't know where to start basically.
So yeah, this is one of our final design reviews for today, and this is something Deshan sent, and I want to start by saying this is pretty cool. Yeah, but I don't know, for some reason he keeps using all caps everywhere. Everywhere.
And the same font.
This is
typeface,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
No, this is a different font. This is kind of different.
No, as in one typeface for the whole poster.
Oh, yeah. True.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And except for this part, this is different, right? No,
Is that
no,
a
it's the
different?
same thing. It's the same thing. It's the
I
same
think it's
thing.
less tilted, but maybe. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, any idea on how to improve this one?
Yeah, so the problem that I just mentioned, the same typeface throughout the whole thing, the quick fix would be just changing the typeface of the bottom text. I think the title looks fine, but the painting, washing, vacuum, that part, yeah.
Might I suggest something, some tiny thing? It's because my OCD is going crazy. So
yeah,
this spacing and the other spacings. So basically, this hasn't been kerned right. What I see is caref. Yeah, kerning is basically the specific distance in between two specific letters. Tracking is for all the letters in a sentence or paragraph or word. Kerning is two specific letters. Like tracking would be all the spacing between C, A, and R and E, P, all those. Kerning would be, the spacing between P and A specifically.
A few moments later.
So we fixed up the poster in the sense of typography, not in the sense of entire design, just the typography. So
looks good. Looks better.
We replaced the text over here. We adjusted the kerning and the logo placement, and we added some new font and we added some new typefaces because we don't want to stick to the same thing again and again and again, right? Right?
Yep. Special thank you going out to Deshan for sacrificing himself.
Next up, I think we have Anjali with a few tips on title designs. That's a huge part of typography, right? So Anjali, you wanna do your thing? Anjali, whenever you're ready.
Yep, let me share my screen. So before we actually get to font pairing itself, let's look at a few places where we can get inspiration from, because in this case typography is getting inspired, so that have a few avenues to go down when you're starting off. So yeah, you can see my screen now. I have this one. What is this? I have a few tabs open here. Not all of them, not all the ones that I generally look at, but I want to ask you guys, what are some of your favorite websites for getting inspired on? I'll get to this one later.
If I go first, my favorites would be actually Friday First, because I am not into that professional side of typography as unlike y'all. I'm more into the artistic side, as in playing around with, the more artistic side rather than the readability side of even words. So definitely Friday Fonts is for me. I mean, I love these fonts. I mean, they're so weird. They're so something else.
You can't read them.
Yeah.
You can read half. But that's the fun part, yeah.
I can read slant.
Yeah. Okay, no, like stuff like this. What is this? Apparently it says vibrate. That's fun. All right. Any others?
I since I do mostly poster designs and flyers and other marks, I use the fonts. So
the fonts. How do you spell it? The fonts.
DA. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they have a very good collection, and they like they up the website updates like almost every hour, and like you can see that there are so many what do you call it? Categories. Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, so like remember we got to make title designing for the Tokyo Throwdown, like so,
that was one of us.
Yeah. So from these categories, you can easily find. I think it was on check. I can't remember the exact category, but yeah. So it was very easy to find whatever I wanted, and I could even like type in the phrase I need, like on preview,
and it will show a preview, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
pretty
cool.
cool.
It's very useful, and it's very easy to download, and there are no ads, and yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it has some artistic ones as well. You can try this out.
Yeah,
too.
I just noticed.
Yeah, they're quite
like that one.
unique.
Yeah,
I like it. All right, so the fonts. We'll be linking all of these websites in the description, so you don't have to note it down now. Yeah. Anyone else?
Where did the end is red? Why so blank?
Me, I basically use fonts.google because it's easy to download and export.
Google Fonts, right?
Yeah.
I use this too.
Export. If you like into web design, you can just export it to use it in your work.
This is I use this too. You can like select a bunch and download at once. It's pretty useful.
Yeah, you can download families at once.
Yeah. Another one similar to this is Adobe Fonts, which is if you're paying for and using Adobe applications. In my case, I'm using InDesign today, which is free, so we're all right. You can just view a family and turn it on if you like it, and it'll appear just like that. It's very easy. But of course, there are not as many fonts here unless you're willing to pay for it. So you can literally just activate fonts. Any other websites?
Great in the Adobe ecosystem, right?
Yeah. It works. Yeah. Just for Adobe, this is great. Yeah.
I might want to add 2 more sites to your list. So one of them is My Fonts.
Of course, My Fonts.
Of course. Yeah. So this is fonts plus inspiration, as in they show new fonts, trending ones, and how they're used in posters and stuff, which is pretty useful for me. I mean, it's where I get the ideas as well, and with the ideas, the resources are there too, unlike on Pinterest and Behance. And the best part about My Fonts is you have this what the font.
Oh yes, okay, this one, right?
Yeah, that.
What the font?
So basically, in that, whenever I find a design without knowing what the typeface is, I can just upload it there, and it will find out the design for me, as in like the typeface for me. And if it's free, it will let me download it right then and there. And if it's paid, it will suggest me any alternative free versions.
Oh, that's really convenient.
Yeah, that's very convenient.
Drop an image. Wow. So it's pretty accurate. Most of the time it figures it out?
Yeah, it does. One more thing.
All right.
This also allows, this also lets you find font pairings.
Okay. Okay, so over here you can like.
Yeah.
All right.
As in, it's useful when you find very exotic fonts that you don't use in your daily designs and stuff, and you want to pair it with something else, and suddenly you don't know where to start from. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to My Fonts pairing and look at some of the designs they have, and they usually pair up. It's mostly script and serif, I believe. And yeah, when you go a bit down, they have other pairings as well.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, this is your go-to font pairing site, because it lets you see how they are paired up and how they can be used, and other ways you can use the same font.
Yeah. This is really useful, yeah. A great place for inspiration and for actually getting the fonts. So that's great.
It's like you can live off this. To be honest.
I live off this.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's my fonts. One-stop place for most things.
This is not a paid advertisement.
Not a paid advertisement. Yeah.
There is type hunting. That is specifically for retro style ones, for inspiration.
Yeah, that's a very niche category. Niche website.
You know those vintage style posters that you see?
Yeah.
Things that belong during the World War II.
It's not showing me now.
Where is everything?
It's taking a while. Okay. Here we go. Okay, yeah, super vintage. Very American down south kind of.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is a place you come for inspiration.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, the links are in the description, so check these out. Pretty useful. One thing that I noticed quite a bit, and I'm sure you guys did too, is the fact that we can filter most of the fonts that we see here by these separate styles. I mean, we saw it in my fonts, we saw it, I believe, in Google Fonts at the very top here, categories, yeah. Right here. Then I saw it somewhere else also. Not here as well.
Yeah, you can.
Probably somewhere. Yeah, this has like a whole bunch of categories. So.
Basic.
Yeah.
On the basic.
Here, okay, yeah. Again, we see the same few words repeated, and Adobe Fonts also has that somewhere. I go back to the search page. Yeah, again, we see these classifications. So what's up with them? As a designer, this is pretty important to know, so I'm gonna like really quickly take you through what those mean. All right, there's actually quite a few different categories, but I'm just going to stick to like a basic set of 6. And the most important 2 here are the top 2, serif and sans serif. So serif, yeah, so when we talk about fonts, they look different, but we can kind of attribute different adjectives to them based on what they look like, right? So you can see that these 6 are pretty different looking. And if we start off with serif, serif means text that has these little lines coming off them. Over here you can see there's a little extra bit jutting out there, and on the S and on the R, that is a serif. And this is like a really old font that came from like Roman or Greek times. And it's still used today quite a bit. It's one of the most basic fonts. Next, or typefaces if you prefer that word. Next we have sans serifs, which is basically an absence of serifs. So if you compare these two, you can see that while this has all these little extra jutting out bits, this has nothing of that. It's very minimalistic and smooth and has nothing more than what it should have as a letter. So that is sans serifs. It basically means without serifs. Then we have slab serif, which is basically a serif but has really thick and uniform slabs here, the serifs here. So over here it kind of tapers off, but here it's just one big line there. Then we have script, which is basically cursive writing. I think it's pretty self-explanatory here. So that's script. Then we have these two, mono and display, which I won't go into much depth. It's just another kind of, a couple kinds of ways of categorizing fonts. Mono kind of gives the typewriter feel. And display is for stuff like headings and like really, when you need a clear font that you can like see from far off and to use as a heading basically, that's when you use the display font. Alright, so now that we kind of have our font types or typeface types down, let's try a few title designs. So what we're going to try and do is something like this. It's basically creating a title card or in a kind of a logo for an event. So previously we kind of I did this sometime. I think some of the fonts here aren't actually working, which is why they look weird. But can't fix that now. So let's try and do something like that here. So from our lovely people here, I chose some random words because I couldn't really think of anything right now. That would be Lotus Typography, which we'll be using as our title in this case. And I made one here, and I'd like to make another. So which font do you think I should use? I have a few samples here because we can't be like looking for random ones right now. But if you have any specific ones that most likely I can find on Adobe, I can use those too.
Lemon milk.
Yeah. See, maybe Adobe, is it a free font?
It is. I think it is. It should be.
I can always download it, but let's see. Lemon font, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? No, it's not here. Let's see if we can find it.
I think it's on Google Fonts.
Oh, it's on Google Fonts. Okay, wait, let me just check it. See, it's easy. Lemongrass. Yay.
Lemon milk.
Lemongrass.
Lemon milk.
Lemon milk. Oh, shit.
Lemon milk.
One eternity later.
Okay,
There you go.
let's download it. Hopefully it should show up now. So, right now we just have the basic word, but we can go ahead and change. We have regular right now, but we can always make it heavier or lighter depending on what we want. Didn't I install the bold one? Isn't there a bold? So we're making a bunch of title faces for basically what a would-be client to like choose from them, because we don't know exactly what they want. So in order to make sure that everything's kind of uniform, we add some guides and we try and make everything the same size. So over here I'm just going to try and align it with the guides. Negatively. And possibly clone it a little. Not kern actually, track. Because in this case, the spacing between the letters seems to be pretty alright. Yeah, make sure that this looks alright. I think since it's an S and the top bit is kind of off, we'll make it come out a little more.
Yeah.
Alright, and now we need to pair a font to this for the second line of text, which is typography in this case. Here I used this font, whatever that is. Suggest a font for that. Okay, so I'm just going to choose some random fonts from here right now, but you can always go through the fonts that you see online and choose whatever you like.
Do you have that font I just said? Yeah.
Surya.
Here,
No, even for this one.
that's basically this. Okay,
Nice.
is that curved enough? That looks nice, right?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah.
see why you like lemon milk so
I
much.
like it.
Guys, what does a designer have for breakfast?
Food.
What?
A designer?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, at this rate, yes, nothing.
He didn't have breakfast.
Is that the actual joke?
No, I was gonna say cornflakes.
No.
Cornflakes.
But that's good too. I feel like nothing works. No.
Several bad puns later.
I'm gonna choose Oswald. Does it
I was
work?
gonna
Does it
suggest
work?
a slightly more geometric one, but
A
this
little
works.
bit smaller would do.
Futura would work.
Yeah,
That's lovely.
yep. Well, actually, okay, wait. What was I doing now? Lotus, Bungie, Kiona.
And Telegram. It's like mum cake. Well, it's basically like mum cake, but there's no.
I don't know about this
Yeah, that is
particular
exactly
Lotus
what I
logo.
wanted.
Would it be weird if it's centered?
That's cool.
Should I center it? That looks better now.
Yeah, that looks good. That's very nice.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so let's skip Bungie, I think. Make that do. Would that work? I feel like this is a nice main font. What do you think?
Yep, it's good.
Does it? Does it? That's done. I have a tiny game for us to play. Now that we've learned about serifs and sans serifs and whatnot, yeah, really quick game. If you guys can tell me which of these categories these words belong to, go for it. It's important to know that actually slabs don't necessarily have to be bold like this, even though I've kind of made a bit of a prejudice thingy and only done thick ones. Because they can be really thin and just be long. I want to show that because I was actually confused about that for a while, so let me just show you some. Where is it? Slab piece. Yeah, these are all slab serifs. It's
Really?
kind of weird. I mean, yeah, apparently.
The third one doesn't look like a slab at all.
It does, and the thing is it's just the long straight lines. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really hard to tell sometimes.
What do you have next? Let me. What do you
Next
have
we have a
next?
story. Comic Sans walks into a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And the bartender goes, "We don't serve your type." Laugh!
That's the punchline.
Bye.
That's just you being biased against Comic Sans, though, which is fair enough because it's horrible font. But you know,
It's horrible.
You could do better.
It's not a horrible font. It's overused, which is why we don't like it. We've seen it too many times. All right.
I mean, there are two kinds of people: people who use Comic Sans and people who have common sense.
Okay, that was good.
Yeah, finally.
Better than the other one.
Yeah.
Right. So for the last bit of a session, we have the common mistakes that people do during typography, and when they do typography, during typography,
When they
use
type, when they use
when they
type,
type.
when they type, basically.
Right. So these are the things you want to avoid. First of all, we have the all font. That is when you use all the fonts you have in your list, and you can obviously see that this is bad, right?
I think we have to clear up, like, we are referring to the typefaces, and we
Yes.
use font because the reference, Q in the reference. I'm pretty sure you all get it. Okay.
Why not? I always wanted to have a local reference somewhere because they have absurd typography in their intro, right?
Sure.
Okay, so you can violate this rule in two special occasions. One is when you use vintage. One is when you use vintage style posters like the one on the left, because back then there was this thing where a lot of typefaces, kind of look good, and even now when you use a lot of typefaces like that, it kind of looks vintage and retro, and I think that suits it.
And people now prefer minimal design, so that's why I think we don't go for all fonts.
We like going from one edge of one point of the spectrum to the other, like complete change. All the fonts are now just like nothing. Yeah.
Very too.
Even if you use several types of fonts, it should make sense. Right in the example you've given on the right, they kind of, it looks good when compared to what we have in the center. Even though both the designs have used several typefaces.
Yeah.
It looks
basically
nice.
That's because this post is supposed to be typography art, right? So in that case, maybe you should just go for art. For the sake of art. There are no mistakes in art. I don't know who said that. Anyways, next up we have the black and white deal. Well, when you use body text, like a lot of text on one page, you should try to avoid using black on white or white on black or like entirely contrasting colors like that. Because if you look at a screen and there's a lot of white text on a black background, you will notice that the letters will start to glimmer off the screen and will hurt your eyes. Like it will cause you eye strain after a while. And which is why like some reading tablets and all, they have red color backgrounds or paper-like backgrounds instead of pure white.
Okay. I used to try and read with like a. I used to try and read with a pure black background because I thought that'd be better, but very quickly realized no, gray is just so much easier on the eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next up, lower text. Well, we kind of referred to this earlier in our design reviews, right? Like how we shouldn't use uppercase body text because like it's like you're yelling at the reader.
Yeah.
Right there.
I can't bring myself to read this paragraph because it's so.
Yeah, and the colors too, and everything is like.
It just hurts.
It just hurts.
And alignment.
Okay, alignment.
Right. So we spoke about alignment, but we didn't.
Not really, not properly. Like we didn't define it really.
Yeah, we didn't. So alignment is basically it's important when you want to convey some like a different tone to whatever you're using. Let's say if you use center line, it's gonna look like a heading or a subtitle, or it's gonna look very symmetrical, playful, and that kind of stuff. You want to use center line. For more professional stuff, you want to use left align. And even like nowadays, the trending things are also left aligned. If none of the others look good, you can always rely on left align to save you. because that's like a default setting. Right align, however, it's very unique, controversial, and I would say not that common. So we have to use it carefully.
I like what you did there with the word alignment. And yes.
I'm glad you got it. Moving on. We have my favorite mistake, the kinning. This is basically when you mess up kerning, right? And well, kerning is the space between the two letters, right? So in this case, the kinning would be when I mess up the space between R and N. It's sad that I had to explain a joke, but okay.
You didn't have to explain it.
You didn't have to explain it. You
We got
started
it.
it.
You didn't get the earlier joke, so I'm gonna explain it. But never mind that now. So yeah, if you want to know how bad kerning can mess up your designs, just go check it out on Google, like kerning fails or kinning fails, whatever. And thank me later.
A specific word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clint and Megaflix and yeah. Anyways, back to this. Elastiforms. Well, this is not what it's called, but I don't know. I just introduced a new word. Well, it's basically when you take a normal font, let's say a very popular, prominent font like Bungie or Proxima Nova, Futura, and you just stretch it to fit whatever you want to fit it in. Well, you might as well make a new font, in my opinion, because artists have they spend their time and what they've learned to create all of these fonts for you, and you stretching them is kind of like saying no, we don't like this, we're just gonna make it our own thing, right? And that's not very nice, is it? If you notice like the distance, the width of this horizontal segment of the T and the vertical segment of the T, that shows how badly you stretched it, and it will turn your nice looking font into something very different and alien, and that's why you don't want to do stretching that badly or ever.
Honestly, yeah, the first time I saw this, I did not recognize it as Bungie. It looks nothing
Why
like
would someone do something like that?
I don't know, it's sacrilege.
So I want to conclude with the rules are meant to be broken. They can be broken, they're not meant to be broken, but yeah, just know your limits to it, right? Is that it? I guess that's it.
Okay, so before we wrap up the session, I have one question for you guys. Which typeface do you think suits your personality?
I honestly can't tell you even now. I can tell you the type of typeface. That would be sans serifs. Sans serif.
Why?
I like it because it's minimalistic. I like it.
Okay.
I can't tell you very specific, but yeah, in that range.
Well, for me it would be, I have a specific typeface as well. Azonix. This.
It's not loading.
Looks very.
It's it.
It is.
Compare.
No, you don't
no,
deserve
We
it.
even look alike, right?
You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it.
Of course,
Dude, look at your hair.
We have the
Look at
same
your
eyes.
hair.
It looks
Look
good.
at your hair and compare it to the font.
I like the A there.
Looks cool. Very cool.
I like the everything there.
I can tell.
So yeah.
I feel like it's more of an Anjali font than Ravi the font.
Me?
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh?
Ego.
Interesting.
Yeah, what's the other ones? Misura and
I said
Deshan and Vinay.
slapstick. I'm a slapstick.
What? Slabs?
You are?
Do you have?
you are a
like
slab
that?
serif. He's a
living
slab serif.
A living walking slab
2 hours later.
I don't think
Okay.
I personally
That
can
is
stick to
really
one
cool.
typeface. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could
Exactly, there's so many nice
I know.
ones.
Like, or something like low key where it's all over the place.
That's cheating. You can't. You have to choose one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find it really hard to just pick one too. which is why I just went for a whole type. How about Deshan?
Well,
Lemon milk.
Lemon. At this point, at least your younger self was definitely lemon milk. Now I'm not sure.
now I feel like I use a lot of. Let's see. See my
Lemon
fonts. It has decreased. I use this thing called. I use a lot of product sense. No.
Product sense. What's that?
Yeah. The Google font.
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
With this, we'll be wrapping up our session. Make sure you tune in for the next episode. This is Just Design Things, signing off. Stay safe. Look, guys, this is my.
What are you waiting for? Like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, we're done. We're done.